and veggies, and I wanted to talk about 5 things that I would tell a person with gas and bloating. So I get this question a lot: why am I having so much gas and bloating? Well, this is my 5 things. Number 1, what is gas and bloating? Well, gas and bloating is simply just fermentation happening in the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, or colon. And primarily, if it's happening within the first 2 or 3 hours of eating, that's in the stomach or small intestine. And there actually should be no fermentation whatsoever in the stomach or small intestine. The only fermentation that should be happening is where the bacteria are actually supposed to be present at, and that is in the large intestine and the colon. So we don't want bacteria up into the small intestine and the stomach area. And if they're getting up there, that means that we don't have the proper defenses that keep them down in their proper place. So this would be like stomach acid and bile, pancreatic enzyme to some extent. And so if we know what gas and bloating is, and we can identify when it's happening, that's a really good key. And that's my number 1, is know what gas and bloating is, and then be aware of when it's happening. Number 2, do not snack in between meals. Snacking is something that the Western culture in the United States, that's something that we've adopted. They told us that to keep our metabolism high, we have to eat every 2 or 3 hours. It's frankly not true. And most people, I will say there's some people that will need to snack, but those are 3 to 5% of people. 95% of people should not be snacking in between meals. Now, why is that? Well, it takes about 2 or 3 hours for our meal to digest and the stomach acid and enzymes to break down the food to where it's actually released through the ileocecal valve into the small and large intestine. So if it's not properly broke down yet and you add more food to that, that never gets acidic enough to go through the ileocecal valve, and therefore it starts fermenting because it's sitting there too long not digesting, because you've added more food on top of that that's not digested. So that's my number 2 tip: don't snack in between meals. Focus on 2 to 3 meals spread apart by 4 to 5 hours a day, or 3 to 4 hours in a day, and that will decrease a lot of gas and bloating right there. My number 3, chew your food thoroughly. I have a whole nother video on just chewing your food. This is something I had to learn as a guy. What do? It's like we just shovel our food in real fast, on the go. We don't pay attention. We're not conscious of our food. Take the time to sit down and chew your food really thoroughly into a paste. The more work your mouth does, the less work your stomach and other organs have to do to digest that food. So that's my number 3 that will definitely help a lot of gas and bloating and make you feel lighter and more energetic. Chew your food. Number 4 is don't overeat. In Ayurveda, which is an old form of Indian medicine, they talk about 2 cupped hands is the size of your stomach. Now, obviously, that's different for every person, right? The size of our hands. So don't overeat. They say to leave 25% of fullness not filled in your stomach. So eat to 75% full. That will aid in digestion. It will leave you feeling light and energetic. It will not overfeed you and bog you down, and also slow digestion. Because remember, if the stomach is too full, it's got to break down acidically all those contents. So that's my number 4. Don't overeat. My number 5, intermittent fast. One of the fastest ways to decrease overall microbial growth in the small intestine, if it's overgrown, is intermittent fasting. Our body will clear out bacteria and waste. This is not about weight loss or anything like that. My analogy is always the same. If you're constantly having company over, when do you have time to clean up the house? We have to have that time to clean up the house. My number 1 recommendation to every single one of my clients, it's a non-negotiable. We don't even discuss whether or not we're going to do it or not in consulting, is we cannot eat 3 hours before bed, and then we cannot eat within 12 hours of stopping eating that night. So what does that mean? It means my fasting window is always longer than my feasting window in a 24-hour period. So this may look like finishing dinner by 7 p.m. and not eating any calories or drinking any calories other than water or tea or something like that until at least 7 a.m. the next morning, preferably 8 or 9. For the longer we can continue that little bit of a fast, the more cleanup that happens in the body. Now, I don't recommend 16, 18-hour fasting for all people all the time, but I do recommend that once a week we do like an 18 to 24-hour fast or a 16 to 20-hour fast. Something like that is a really, really good reset every week to keep microbial populations down. This will decrease gas and bloating. It will keep you light and energetic and keep you detoxing, because that's another huge factor in intermittent fasting is detoxing. And we are full of chemicals. We are in a more toxic environment than ever before. It used to be pristine like this all over, but we know that it's not. We know that we are exposed to more environmental and man-made chemicals than we ever have been, ever. So that's my 5 tips for gas and bloating. Hope you got something out of this. If you did, share it with somebody who has been complaining about gas and bloating. Hit the like button, subscribe. More daily tips coming from Zach from musclesandveggies.com.